happening, guys? Welcome to Wanna Go Fishing. I am not holding a fishing pole. No, no, no. Uh, this is actually a 1965 Fender Mustang. If you go several videos back, I did a video called Unearthing a Vintage Fender Mustang. That was this guitar. So this video may not make a whole lot of sense unless you go back to that video and watch it. Or you can just watch this video and just understand that this guitar was purchased by a friend of mine from the original owner, who he doesn't play guitar, but he called me after he bought it and said, hey, I've got this guitar, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I wound up with the guitar, and it was pretty much a basket case. It had not been played in a very, 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 very long time. Again, if you go back to the first video, you'll see that the frets were green, the strings were extremely old, and none of the electronics worked. None of it. So basically, strumming it was just dead, plugging it into the amplifier. Since then, I have worked on it quite a bit. I completely disassembled it, cleaned it up, cleaned all the electronics, cleaned all the chrome, screws, you name it, I went through it. These switches up here were all completely taken out and cleaned because that is the weakness of this guitar. I also took it apart and found out that through numbers on the back of the pick guard and the pickups and everything, it is a 1965 Fender Mustang. These guitars were basically, when I say these guitars, there was a grouping of these. You had the Music Master, the Bronco, the Duosonic, the Mustang, and they were Fender's get you hooked guitars. That's what these things were about. They didn't cost a whole lot of money, and they would get that beginner out there playing something that had a really good feel to it that could keep their attention, which as a guitar player, I can tell you that was always one of the problems with guitars, is that if you bought a cheap guitar, it could make you or break you. And I mean, if it was a struggle to play, you just quickly would get burnt out. A kid would get burnt out and go, hey, I don't have what it takes to do this, when really a lot of times they did have what it took. They unfortunately had an instrument that wasn't very well set up and frustrated the student until they just said, I'm done with this. Well, the Fender's answer to that were these guitars. The Duosonic, the Music Master, the Mustang, and the Bronco, those guitars. So they would get that taste of blood in your mouth to where you wanted more. And wanted more meant you'd move up. Fender knew, Leo was a smart guy, and the company was smart at thinking, hey, we get them, hooked on this and on a decent guitar, we'll have them moving up into a Stratocaster or a Telecaster or something else. So that's what these guitars did. Anyway, the last video, I had a buddy of mine that actually called me. We talked on the phone for a while, and he said, you did a video on unboxing, unearthing that relic, and you kind of left us hanging. What's going on with it? Well, what's going on with it is that I fixed it up and got it playing. So here it is. I'm going to show you that it does work and function, and give you a little close-up of it here. The paint is so cool because it kind of checked from time and temperature. It probably was kept in an attic or something like that. It's just really cool. Gives it its personality, basically, is what it boils down to. So yes, it used to be white, didn't used to be tan. A lot of white guitars from that time frame, they age, and when they age, the white ones specifically turn yellow. So this is now kind of a creamy yellow, kind of a banana pudding kind of thing. The frets from, if you saw the first video, they were green, and there was a lot of buildup and funk. That's all been cleaned and taken care of, and the frets buffed out. Still some slight edging, sharp edges on them, but I'm not a professional when it comes to that, and I'm not going to take that chance. Let me get that screen back on and do that. That'll be given to somebody who knows what they're doing. But everything's there. The tuners are in great shape. They're oiled up inside and they tune really well. Now, the guitar is really a blast to play. And the cool thing about this guitar is that everything was there. And in the world of guitars, that's a big deal. And when I say everything, the original strap was in the case. The tremolo bar was still on it, still there. The bridge cover, which I have here, these right here, usually those are gone because though they looked good on the guitar and gave it that souped up kind of look, you can't play with them because you left your hand on them, you couldn't mute the strings. So a lot of people pull them off, Stratocasters, specifically the Telecaster, and which they called the ashtray, and they got lost through the years. Well, all of that was here. So that is about as cool as it gets, really. So other than the fact that this thing's playing again. One of the cool things about the Mustang was the switching here, and I'm going to try to get this thing angled like I want it. The switching on these guitars, Fender had an in-phase and out-of-phase thing where they could take two pickups and they got a lot of sounds out of two pickups with these switches up here. Now, other companies did this. I just don't think they knew they did it. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But Fender, the Mustang, was actually one of the first guitars to have this out-of-phase switching that was intentional, which is very cool. That's a historic thing right there. So anyway, I'm going to show you that it does work. All the cleaning and all the hard work paid off. We'll play a few things. I'm going to do my best not to play somebody else's music, which is not easy, because think about it, people. Everybody's written a song in life and put it on the radio and you've heard it and you've played it. I don't care who you are. If you play something, it's going to sound like somebody else's music. But anyway, I'm not a big tremolo guy, so I'm going to push this back out of the way. Turn this volume knob up. Right now, I'm going to flip us up into this front position, which takes us to the neck in phase. And just give you a few chords here. There we go. Now, actually, I've got my overdrive pedal on, my MXR 78 distortion. Speaking of which, my setup is very simple. I'm not a big gimmick guy, pedal guy. So I have a Quilter 101 mini reverb that I use. I love it because it's small, it's lighted, and it's easy to take places. I have a classic 112 PV cabinet with a Jensen speaker. I have an MXR Prime distortion. I have an MXR 78 distortion, and I have a Boss DD7 delay pedal and a chromatic tuner. There you go. That is the extent of what I use. Anyway, let's just give you us up here in the neck position, give you a couple of buzzes here. Let's try that again. Anyway, that is the neck position with a little bit of that 78 distortion jammed up in there and the delay pedal on, but you can hear in there and get a little bit of that rockabilly thing. Alright, don't sue me, Elvis. I was just playing a little bit of rockabilly stuff there. Anyway, neck position. All right, out of phase neck position. Kind of loses a little bit to me. I've never been a fan of the phasing stuff. Not that it's not cool and people don't use it and it sounds great and what they do, it's just not for me. It's kind of stringy to me. It's kind of... let's go back here. Yeah, you can hear that. I love the neck position. That's where I like to play. Anyway, let's go back here and we'll go to the middle here, which completely cuts this pickup off, and we will drop into the bridge position, which is going to give us that twang. Let me tell you what. Give us that twang. Let me tell you what. Oh yeah, twangy baby. Now when you hear these, you cannot help but hear the 60s in these guitars. You know, I'm going to do something else as I'm probably getting in trouble. I don't know what it is. But anyway, you hear these things and you hear... Oh, I hear when I play these guitars. Okay, please don't sue me, but that's what I hear. You know, you hear those. You know, that's when you were sitting in that bedroom and, you know, your dad was yelling, turn that guitar down, you know, and you're up there just pounding away, doing those Chuck Berry. Hey, we're back. And you know why we're back? I'll tell you why we're back. Because we had to leave. And we had to leave because the camera got too hot in a house with the air conditioning on. And it cut off. What's up with that? I must have been playing really good. I was heating up the old camera. Well, it stayed on that time. Stayed on that time. So anyway, where were we? What we were is in the neck position. No, I'm sorry, bridge position. In phase. It is a twang monster, okay? It's just how it is. They're twang monsters in that position. You just can't get away from it. It twangs. You can get the steel guitar sound. You hear it, it's a Fender, you can't do anything about it. It's a Fender sound. If your eyes were closed and you were walking down the street and heard me in here doing this, you'd go, man, that guy's playing a Fender. You can't help that if you know guitars. Otherwise, you say, hey, man, that guy's in there playing the xylophone. But if you don't know guitars, that's what you'd say. Probably not. But anyway, let's go with the old out of phase now. Even more twang. Wait a minute, what was that? There's a song there, several I think played that same rhythm, but anyway, that's kind of what you hear. That's the sound that you hear from this thing in those positions. Anyway, let's talk about something else I never use. Let's go up here back into the thing, and I'm not a tremolo guy. I've never been a tremolo guy. It's not my thing. I generally would knock the guitar out of tune trying to use it, so I never really, you know, if I had a Stratocaster, I'd bring the bridge all the way down as tight as I could, and I'd run the springs up as tight as I could, and I'd never use the tremolo in any way, shape, or form. Might as well have been a hardtail Strat, but they're so heavy, you know. So anyway, you just got the bridge down tight, and I didn't use it. But I did use it once intentionally, and it sounded a little something like this, and you may know it. Sound familiar? There you go. The only time I ever used it and meant to use it. So then we go whoop, and we just work this guy back here again. And anyway, fun guitar is great to fun play. There's just no way to, if you're a guitar player and you're always looking for tone, in this guitar you've got so many different ones, in a phase, out of phase, you know, whatever you want to change, it's there. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. It wasn't much to this, but it was an answer to a question. A buddy of mine called me on the telephone and said, hey man, what happened to that guitar? Well, here it is. It is taken care of. Honestly, didn't think anybody else really cared, so that's why I didn't really do another video on it. Obviously, some people did. But if you're into this kind of thing, it's cool because you're basically doing the old Indiana Jones, you know, unearthing the relic, and it's just fun. It's cool to do this kind of stuff and bring something back to life that really didn't have much of a purpose in any way. And now it does. It has purpose again. Same kind of thing I do with the fishing reels. You know, I find these fishing reels that, you know, basically didn't have any purpose anymore, and I bring them back to life and take them out and go fishing with them again. I'm not a hippie or any kind of thing like that, you know, and I'm not looking up at the moon and the stars going, dude, you know, but I do believe that everything has a soul to it, even if it's an inanimate object, as long as it was built and made for a purpose and have a reason. That when you take that purpose and reason from it, it just brings me down, dude. Brings me down. And I like to make it have its purpose again and its life again. And that's just something I enjoyed doing. Here we have a vintage 1965 Fender Mustang that has been brought back to life and has purpose again. It's getting played, maybe not as much as I'd like to, but it is getting played a lot. And I'm sure it's getting played more than it has in probably the last 45 or 50 years. So with that being said, if you've watched, I thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed this little revival. We'll see you on the next go around. Later.